Now let's look at even and odd functions. So first let's look at the definition of even and odd functions. So here's the definition of an even function. We say that a function is even if and only if f of minus x is equal to f of x. Period. An example would be f of x is equal to x squared. That's in fact the simplest even function. If we go f of 5, we have 5 squared, or 25. If we have f of minus 5, then we get minus 5 in parentheses, squared, and that's minus 5 times minus 5, and minus 5 times minus 5 is 25. So that's the definition of an even function, that f of minus x is equal to f of x. In the simplest example, f of x is x squared. Let's look at the definition of an odd function. We say a function is odd if and only if, right? That's what we use for definitions. F of minus x is equal to minus 1 times f of x. An example, in fact the simplest example, would be f of x is x cubed. Let's look at, for example, f of 2. F of 2 is 2 cubed, which is 2 times 2 times 2, or 8. F of minus 2 would be parentheses minus 2 times 3, which is minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, minus times minus times minus. Negative and the negative is a positive times negative and negative, so that's minus 8. Let's factor a minus 1 out, and you get minus 1 times 8. So if f of minus x is equal to minus 1 times f of x, then it's odd. Here's a key point, and be very careful here. Functions are either even, odd, or neither. And people forget that. So they can be neither even nor odd. And that's simply called neither even nor odd. Sometimes that's called N-E-N-O, neither even nor odd. So let's do some examples. And then there's a following video that'll do some more examples. So let's say we have f of x is equal to 3x squared plus, let's do 5. And the question is it even or odd, or neither? And here's the steps. Steps. Number 1, evaluate f of minus x. If it's equal to f of x, it's even. Second step. If it's not even, factor out minus 1. If equal to minus 1 times f of x, then it's odd. Otherwise, it's neither. So let's do an example here. First step, f of minus x. What that means is you take the function and everywhere there's an x, you replace it with a minus x. So that's 3 parentheses minus x squared plus 5. Minus x squared, that's minus x times minus x. That's a positive x, so that's 3 times x squared. And it's a positive x squared. Let me redo that. That's 3x squared plus 5. Now at that point, stop and see if that's equal to f of x. Is that what you started with originally? It is. So you plug in a negative x where the x is. If it's the same as what you started with, it's even. And you're done. Let's do another example. This time let's do f of x is equal to 2x to the third plus 5x squared plus 6. Step 1, f of minus x. So you have 2 minus x cubed plus 5 times minus x squared plus 6. Now the key here is let's look at minus x cubed. That's minus x times minus x times minus x. Minus x times minus x times minus x is equal to x cubed, and it's a negative. So that's minus x cubed times 2 would be a minus 2x cubed, right? It's 2 times negative x times negative x times negative x. Let's look at this problem. This is minus x times minus x times 5. A negative x times a negative x is a positive x squared times 5 is a positive x squared. And 6 is just 6. So the question is this the same as what you started with? Let's see. It's exactly the same. It's not. So that means it's not even. So let's go to the second step. The first step is you evaluate f of minus x and find out if it's even. If it's not, you factor out a minus 1. So let's factor a minus 1 out. That's step number 2. So go minus 1. That's 2x cubed. That becomes a negative 5x squared. Why is it a negative? Because you're taking a negative out. You divide everything by minus 1. And 6 divided by minus 1 is minus 6. Now let's look at this and see if this is what we started with. It's not, right? So that's step number 2. If it's not even, then you factor a minus 1 and see if you get the same thing times minus 1. You don't. So that means it's not odd. And your third step is if it's not even and not odd, then it's not even and not odd. And we can just say it's neither even nor odd. And you can, depending on who's giving you the test, some people accept the phrase Nino. Let's do one more example. Let's do g of x. It doesn't matter if it's f of x or g of x. So let's do g of x is equal to 5x cubed, let's do minus 7x. Step 1, do g of minus x. That's your first step. Your first step is always simply here's your first step, evaluate f of negative x. So then you get 5 minus x cubed minus 7 times minus x. Let's look and see what this is. That's minus x times minus x times minus x times 5. Negative times negative times negative is going to be a negative. X times x times x is x cubed, and a 5, so you get minus 5x cubed. This is a minus 7 times minus x. Negative times negative is a positive, so it's plus 7x. It's your first step. And now check to see if this is what you started with. It's not. So this is not even. Second step. Now you're going to factor out a minus 1. So you're going to factor a minus 1 out, and then you're going to divide everything by minus 1. So when you divide this by minus 1, you get 5x cubed. When you divide this by minus 1, you get minus 7x. You could factor more out, but the point is you only want to factor a minus 1 out. Now you want to check to see if this, right? You want to check to see if this term right here is the same as what you started with. And is it exactly the same? It is exactly the same. So that means that in this case g of x is simply, g of minus x is simply minus 1 times g of x, which means it's odd. And there's your answer. This is an odd function. And that's how you do even and odd functions.